Hi everyone and welcome to my channel Karoline's Knits. My name is Karoline and I live in Scotland with my partner Ben and our dog Fela. Oh, thank you Fela. Who will get back her squeaky toy after this, maybe even find Mr. Chicken. I have done a very quick costume change, which is why my hair looks so crazy, because I had it clipped up for the previous video and I made the mistake of putting it up wet this morning so it's looking a little bit frizzy, so I hope you'll excuse that. Fela stayed very calm for the previous video, so let's see if she'll do it this time. If you are new here, as I said, I live in Scotland, but I am originally Danish, and is it this one you were hoping for? Come on in, come on in. And I am originally Danish, and I thought I would talk a little bit about some of my knitting plans for the start of the new year, the sort of things that I would like to make more of. If you haven't seen it already, I made my usual what I made in 2022, and I talked a lot about projects that I feel like got a lot of use in the past year, things that were a big success, and also kind of how that influences what I'm going to be making this year. First of all, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, my massive stash, which probably by now weighs about an elephant. Earlier today I tried to film the beginning of like a stash tour or like organize my stash kind of thing, and I am not sure the format is right, so if you never see that footage, that's probably why. But I basically really want to make a concerted effort to work through some of my stash projects this year, because I actually have a sizable stash, and I think I still, you know, I'm not against, I know some people really enjoy a ban. I don't think I need to impose a ban on myself, because I still feel plenty inspired by what's in my stash. When I was in like my most buying yarn phase, I in general picked yarns that I enjoy working with, and so I still mainly have yarns that I am keen to work with this year, which is fortunate because the yarn was expensive. And somehow at the tail end of my big yarn buying spree, which was, if you watch the podcast, it's probably quite evident from them, but most of that were bought in 2021, and I kind of moved from buying lots and lots of colours to by the tail end, probably because I bought so many bright things, I started being more drawn to neutrals. And I think there's going to be a big trend in the colours you'll see me knitting, especially to begin with, as I work through some of those more neutral yarns to create some more neutral pieces. So I've taken some of the yarns that I probably see myself knitting up in the not too distant future, and one of the first things that I am desperate to knit up, I'm sitting on the ball, is a zipper sweater. So you've already seen my little menace. You might be able to hear her chewing on her toy in the background, and as I've spoken about many a times, I have come to realize that my knits that get used the most are knits like this one. This one is actually quite a good example of something that is really useful in my day-to-day life. This is the Nordstrand, say in a Danish accent, Nordstrand sweater by Henrik. It's a free pattern from Woolyknit. It's knitted in one strand of, my version is one strand of Woolyknit Peruvian Highland wool and one strand of Woolyknit Alva. And the main colour on this is Mosspan, and the contrast colour is Merlot for the Highland wool, and I do actually not remember what the corresponding Alva is, because it's not melange like Merlot, but it's essentially just a dark red. And this sweater I made actually not too long after I got you, because I really lost my knitting mojo. I could tell the camera is like, oh, new face has entered the scene, I'll focus on that. But yes, after I got Fela, I really lost my knitting mojo for a little while, and this was actually the garment that really got me back into it, and this has been used so much. I slightly felted it, and it's kept me so nice and warm and toasty, and especially in Scotland, the winters are long, really long. This year for some reason they feel extra long and extra rainy, so I really enjoy garments that I can wear when dog walking. Now my usual dog walking outfit is a pair of leggings or a pair of jeans, Most of my jeans need a wash after one walk, so sometimes I just am the lady with muddy jeans for a few days with paw prints on them. And I often have a long waterproof rain jacket, and that's essentially what I wear year round. Also in winter time, I just layer up more underneath, and that works really well for me. Fela and I participate in something called hoopers, which is essentially like, imagine agility but with no sort of like things that are tough physically, so like they don't jump over things, etc. They have to essentially run through hoops and around barrels and through big ground tunnels, and that's the whole purpose of it. So they use the brain to know where they go by you telling them, but they don't have to jump over things. But that is also another thing that keeps me outside quite a lot. I need to work Fela's brain quite a lot, so I do probably spend by now easily over an hour a day outside in any weather, also in pouring rain. So a lot of my knits this year, especially as we start the sort of winter spring season, because summer is short and fleetingly here, and so I don't foresee myself doing that many summer knits. I do not foresee myself making many summer garments because, to be honest, they are not my most worn knits. Actually, they're probably always, as a category, my least worn knits, because I am cold all the time, and even in summertime I often find myself in the home office still wearing really thick hand knits. So I'm going to talk about the zipper sweater, because when that pattern first came out, I was like, I am never going to knit that. Why would I knit something I have to sort of zipper into, when a knit like that you can buy so easily? You know, it's really trendy, it's easy to get hold of. But then as I've become more accustomed to wearing only, you know, my own handmade garments, I've become more aware of the joy of having hand knit things to wear. So I also realised that the zipper sweater, as much as I at first thought it would never be for me, that actually it's probably a garment that would become top of the list, because I love the roll neck on this, but sometimes, especially like right now, for example, this is quite warm, and I love the idea that you just be able to pull the zipper down, get a bit of fresh air. If you've ever gone for a long walk, I'm sure you know what it's like. You are freezing when you first go out, but then as your body gets warm often, especially around your neck, you can get a bit warm. So I'd love to make a zipper sweater. Now I have quite a few options for yarn, and I pulled out one of them. I need to put this up here. I do not know if I want to make the thick zipper sweater or the new zipper sweater light. But I think this, I have to double check with gauge, but this is actually a yarn that I bought for quite a good deal from Woolyknit, and it's not going to focus at all, is it? Yeah, there we go. You can kind of see it. Apologies for the dodgy focus there. This is the Bluefaced Leicester, 100% natural Bluefaced Leicester fleece. Natural Bluefaced fleece, sorry. From Woolyknit. I actually bought this on offer, so I don't think they sell this particular, but my understanding is that Bluefaced Leicester is quite a common British breed, and so it's wool that is easily accessible domestically, and at least to my hands this feels not too dissimilar at all to something like the Knitting Follow Merino. So you get the kind of good qualities of yarn like that, but I think Bluefaced Leicester will be a little bit harder wearing. So I might make this. This has a tension of 22 stitches to 28 rows on 10 centimeters in stocking stitch, and so I have quite a lot of this, and this could be a zipper sweater light. I also have some Peruvian Highland wool and Telia in my stash that I cast on for a project and didn't love the initial feel of it, so that could also be an option. I honestly could be tempted to make both if it turns out to be a big success. But it's a project that I could see myself casting on in the not too distant future, because big parts of that knit looks to be quite mindless knitting, and also quite a lot of knitting. Another project that I am keen to start working on soon, which is why it's kicked up, is this beautiful yarn, which in some ways is a gift. This is camel silk, and this is hand-dyed cereal packer, baby cereal packer silk from Sakami. This is in the colour Gilly Do, which is where I got married, and this is undyed. So my lovely knitting friends who came to my wedding bought me this as a wedding present, and this yarn has so much meaning to me that I foresee, just a second. So that's one reason I foresee myself knitting that up, because it's yarn with quite a lot of special meaning to it. And I foresee it being a Semper sweater from my lovely friend Sophie, the Knit Pearl Girl, because I have actually never knitted any of the patterns. And I think this hand-dyed cereal alpaca needs a project where it kind of gets to shine on its own. Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. I don't know if I want to make the v-neck because I actually think this combination could be quite nice with a shirt underneath and be quite work appropriate for me. I love to wear my knits to my physical job as well as the home office, and I've knitted one v-neck sweater last year and that actually got a lot of wear in the sort of warmer months, because not having your chest covered and your neck covered is a great way, I feel like, to stay a little bit cooler but still be warm. So I wore it loads. Now, this, I have managed to unravel some of it. Do you hear that? That's Fiona and Mr. Duck outside, which she will probably barge in a minute and be very proud of herself. This is, I do apologise, you have to live with the background squeaking. She basically can't sleep if I am talking. But not if Ben and I are talking, that's fine. But if I'm talking on my own like this, it just seems to always send her a bit bonkers. Anyway, this is Woolyknit's British wool in cinnamon, and this is knitting for Olive soft silk my hair in the colour rust. I bought this coin first, or not coin, this was a hank. I wish I'd bought a coin. This colour is stunning. It's exactly how I thought cinnamon would look, and I love cinnamon coloured things, if you didn't know. It's one of the colours I'm always drawn to. Funnily enough, because I don't always think it's the best fit with my hair, but there you go. And then I bought them my hair when Knitting for Olive was donating to the Red Cross for the war in Ukraine. And my initial plans for this had been to be a September sweater. You might have seen I cast it on and then I just had a nightmare with it and decided to rip it out. And I have spent a long time kind of thinking about what this could become, and then I think I kind of realised that these two together, I didn't feel I created a tight enough gauge for DK weight garment, and I cannot make a long sleeve garment. And I knitted up a gauge swatch, which isn't this one, for like some other vest besides the September slipover, and I just didn't love the feel of the fabric. It felt a bit too thin for me to be knitted up at that gauge. I don't want to buy more of the British wool for that purpose, because as I said, I have plenty of yarn and I have, you know, just the right amount of soft silk my hair. And then I saw Inling, who have sponsored the yarn for one of my current test knits. When I was looking at the website at one point, I noticed that they have a type of shawl, and I suddenly thought actually this could make quite a nice shawl. I do find woolly knit soft enough, I could definitely wear it as like a scarf. When I say a shawl, I would probably use it as a scarf. And I do think that the British wool is it's soft enough for me, especially when washed, and especially help with soft silk my hair. And I just really like the thought of it, and I have actually never made a shawl. So I think this is going to be one of the other things that I knit, and because it's not as much yarn, it feels like a slightly smaller project, maybe a good palette cleanser. Speaking of palette cleansers, I am keen that one of the things I should be able to accomplish this year is actually knitting some socks. I bought quite a lot of sock yarn in 2022. It's probably, of all the categories of yarn, the area where I bought the most, and I'm sure to sell myself quite a small sock yarn stash. But I would like to get through most of my sock yarn this year, and that's simply because it's kind of a category I feel like I could eradicate in my stash, and it would also give room to like do more of like buy a if you know if you go somewhere and there's yarn, you can buy like a special skein for sock knitting or whatever. Also a way that I longer term could support more hand dyers, because I feel like hand dyed yarn in socks is a great way to work with hand dyed yarn but not have to think in whole garments of it. This is actually hand dyed. This is a base from Sakami as well. I do not remember, I don't remember the colour. I feel like I started with an A and I don't remember the base, which is really unhelpful. This is a non-superwash, no nylon DK weight sock yarn. So I need to decide what kind of sock these are to become. I've asked before, but I will ask again. Your favourite sock patterns, especially DK weight and fingering weight. I would like to find more short row style heels. I'm not keen on the heel flap and gusset. So I think that's what this is going to become. I do have some leftover Filcolana Tilia in Red Squirrel, which I'm going to check and might go with this. And I might hold it because I've seen Knitting Tradition talk quite a lot about how you know, silk mohair is like a good natural reinforcer in sock yarn, and my goal is always to find socks that I can wear, especially out walking as well with the dog, because I get cold feet. But equally, even in the home office, I actually tend to prefer my hand knit socks, and I love long leg socks, which seems to be a minority, but my jeans are always kind of cropped, so they come in very handy. And the final thing that I pulled out of my stash that I would really like to work with, I feel like this poor yarn has sucked every little bit of fluff it has been able to find, is this beautiful yarn. If you watched for a while, you might know that this exact yarn is my favourite. This is probably still completely out of focus, but this is the Camaros Snefnug. This is a blow yarn that is 55% alpaca, 35% cotton and 10% extra fine merino wool. This is in the colour 7360 stone grey, I'm going to translate it as, and this is in the colour 7329 in the colour marine blue, very, very dark blue. And this is my main colour and this is my contrast colour. I bought this for the Northern Augustine's number 1, which is an all over colourwork sweater, and I had been backwards and forwards what I wanted this to become. I don't want to hold this with any other strands. I want to have it purely in Snefnug, because this is basically one of my favourite yarns I have ever worked with. I love the final product it gives. It's soft, it's fluffy, but has great wear. It looks like coarse, but sandless coarse, which is also a blown yarn, but it has none of the synthetic fibres in it. It's stunning, and I really want to make another colourwork sweater that I could use similar to this. That's a tiny bit of a different feel, obviously. And my colourwork isn't the best, so I definitely need to practice it. But that's one of the other things that I am really keen to knit up this year. And I feel like that little pile looks a lot bigger than maybe what yeah, that would probably take me through most of the next few months, to be honest, because my knitting speed I feel like recently has felt really slow. I have also have like dreams about knitting another cabled sweater. Obviously I have some very talented friends bringing out cable sweaters. I know Rebecca has her a Dawny sweater in testing, which I absolutely love the look of and I almost signed up for, but I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't actually have had time to finish the test knit in time, to be completely honest. So that's definitely on my list, and I have plenty of yarn for that kind of weight as well, and that kind of sweater, that kind of look. Obviously my talented friend Laura from Penrose Knits is making the Eclair sweater, which I'm quite excited to see how the different versions knit up. I'm excited to see the non-bubble versions as well. I wonder how that will look different. So I could also see myself doing another cable sweater. I quite like cables because they're mindless enough that they can be TV knits for me. As when you start to be able to do cables without a cable needle, often the repeats is far enough that it's actually quite a lot of rounds of knits and purls, and then just, you know, every say 6th row is something, you know, a row where something happens, and that's definitely doable for me watching the telly. So I'd like to do some of that, and I feel like that will take me well into summer. And currently I feel like what's next after all of these big sweaters are probably some cardigans, but I guess I will come back to, you know, what's to come after all of this. And with that kind of finishing thought of what I'm making this year, I would love to know what you're planning to make in the winter months. Anything you're making that I have missed out on, that you think I would enjoy? What's your priorities for the knitwear that you're choosing for the remainder of this season? Wherever you are, if you are in the southern hemisphere, I'm sure you in like the height of summer knits. But I always love to hear, and if any of you like me spend way too much time outside being freezing cold in the rain, I'd love to hear if you have any successful projects as well. And that's all for me. I hope you'll stick around and I'll see you again soon. Bye!